Recording in progress.
Welcome in to the latest episode of Betting the Pitch with your host, the real _G Warner. We're going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues. We're 24-8, 75% on our best bets year to date. What I do is I go through each of the leagues. I pick my favorite bet from each, and then I push them all together for a 1-minute video at the real _G Warner on YouTube and at the real _G Warner on Instagram, the Reels and the Shorts variety. Especially now that TikTok's gone, at least in a couple of days here in the United States, might as well subscribe on the other platforms and then figure out my best bet in a 1-minute version on either of those places, or stick with me for, I guess, the remaining hour that we're probably going. As we got a lot to get through, might as well get the iPad queued up with the lines so that we're ready to do it right now with the freshest and the most available. And then stick with me through England, Spain, Italy, France, and Germany. We'll start in England since that's where the money is and that's where the earliest start time is. We'll start with Newcastle, 1-goal favorites at home to Bournemouth. Total is 3, juice pretty heavily to over right now with a lot of juice on the on the Bournemouth side, getting that full goal of insurance. Actually, before I get a little bit deeper into this, I want to make sure that anyone who's wanted to join live knows I'm going live. So here we go. That is now tweeted out there. Any comments that you want to leave, feel free to throw them in, and I will do my best to get to them during the show. So we'll start with that first matchup. Bournemouth with what should have been a road win at Chelsea, if not but for a late goal from a set piece deep in stoppage time, 95th minute or so. Brutal because it killed my Bournemouth under, but I still won the Bournemouth +1 on the road at Chelsea. Really tough week to go from Chelsea in London up all the way to Newcastle, and considering two teams that are fighting for Champions League spaces, places, all that sort of stuff. But Bournemouth have been great. They need to obviously keep winning if they want their own European claims or to work out. And that's going to be the big question, is what can they do? Newcastle, not so used to 2 matches in a week. It does help that both of them were at home, having played Wolves, one of the bottom sides in the English Premier League. So things have worked out pretty well for Newcastle, to say the least, for this matchup. And that does certainly make it a little bit harder on who am I talking about? It makes it a lot harder on Bournemouth as a 1-goal underdog and a really tough place to play and on short rest. All those things added up and work against Bournemouth, but getting a full goal of insurance is too much, in my humble opinion. Thank you for those of you coming in live. If you want to throw some questions in here, please do so, and I will do my best to get to it. I think I just showed, or I tried to display where your comments would go. There we go. That's where they would go. So I'm interested in Bournemouth. Love the full goal of insurance. Love the push on 3, though I've been a little bit more apprehensive for playing against Newcastle, or essentially playing against their offense by playing unders when they're at home. That's the big question for me on this one. I think I'm pretty interested in backing Bournemouth as a 1-goal underdog to anybody, no matter where. Honestly, anywhere besides maybe Bayern München, maybe Barcelona, but also with Real Madrid, like. These teams aren't going to play Bournemouth this year, so it doesn't matter. But Andoni Iraola, he knows what he's doing, and he's been keeping this podcast and this record afloat for the entire season. Moving next to the big window, only 3 games actually on Saturday, but that's what happens when you have England play midweek. West Ham United, they are a pick'em at home to Crystal Palace. A little bit more juice on the Crystal Palace side. Totals 2 3/4, juice pretty heavily to under. A lot of questions about West Ham United and Graham Potter, what he will change, what he will do. I was a little apprehensive despite their win against Fulham. Didn't really want to jump in there yet. Good result also makes you think, oh, Graham Potter's got it fixed. So I'm going to try my best to be as pragmatic about that, or as hesitant to join on the Graham Potter bandwagon, because pretty much he's been great at Brighton, who've been great under any manager, and he's not been great anywhere else. The interesting thing to me here, though, is Crystal Palace is a road favorite. Don't trust their offense. It's been better of late, but still not churning out goals by any means. And that certainly pushes or points to an under 2 3/4 in this matchup. Lean to West Ham as a home underdog. Would love to see them move to a 1/4 goal underdog, of course. Don't know if we'll get that before Saturday kickoff here in the United States. Move next to Brentford hosting Liverpool, coming off a late, one of the few, I think we're currently at like a 3-to-1 ratio in terms of stoppage time losing goals versus stoppage time winners. But Brentford certainly did their charm or worked their magic at home to Manchester City this week, and they get another home game, but now Manchester City turns into Liverpool, and Liverpool is actually good at football. So that's a big problem. Brentford 1.25 goal underdog at home. All the juice on Liverpool. Might see 1.5 here. I don't see that big of a difference between Liverpool and City at this point. Yes, City have been really bad and can't win games. So I guess I should undo that statement, but whatever. It's been said, it's late already, but we're doing this a lot earlier than normal with Late Night with the Real _G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. I think the total at 3.5 here is high, but all this kind of caters to a Liverpool team that's not as strong as their record suggests they are. Brentford are... The problem is I saw a huge gap between Brentford's starting 11 and when they brought in their reserves. Roerslev with an embarrassing fall that gave up a goal. And then Sepp Vandenberg was good for Mainz on loan from Liverpool in the Bundesliga last season in Germany, but has been horrible for Brentford. Has scored a couple goals, and that's kind of put some lipstick on a pig. But at this point, Brentford have been great at home. It's hard to argue with their success there. Liverpool going on the road, they just want a 1-goal win. So for that reason, I'm interested in Brentford getting the goal and a quarter, which soon could be goal and a half. That's a lot to give a home underdog that's been playing so well at home, though there's certainly a lot of flaws, a lot of fleas on that pig. Leicester City then hosts Fulham. Currently Leicester a 0.5 goal underdog at home with all the juice on Fulham. Totals 2.75. Juice pretty heavily to under right now. Leicester are not very good, but they do have a big home crowd, like all the English Premier League sides, essentially. The difference here is that Fulham go on the road, and they've been playing really poorly. Fulham been great to start the year, been a great underdog, but as they've moved into a favorite role, they've struggled there and have not been doing well otherwise, and that's a big problem. Losing at West Ham midweek, not a big deal for a cross-London trip, but now got to go to the Midlands to Leicester, and that's a big problem, I think. So I'm pretty interested in Leicester City getting that 0.5 goal, and I lean to under 2.75 as well. To the nightcap on Saturday, Arsenal host Aston Villa. Almost said Ars, but I guess that's what Arsenal go by. Arsenal 1-goal favorite. Juice is split. Totals 2.5. Juice slightly more to over. Not really sure where to go with this one. I feel like Arsenal have been scoring more goals, but they are running out of players. Gabriel Jesus done with an ACL. They've already had the Kai Havertz experience. We've already seen that work and really fail. I don't think that's changing anytime soon. I'm going to reposition my iPad so my neck doesn't yell at me after this episode. Take care of your neck, kids. But I think Aston Villa is a 1-goal underdog. It's a really nice push to have if they lose by a single goal. But man, Aston Villa have been really bad, even when they were really good at home getting into Champions League this season. Last year, they're still bad away from home. There's a lot of problems here. I think my biggest interest, if I got to pick something, is under 2.5, but I'll probably move on to Sunday. Start with Nottingham Forest, 1.25 goal favorites to Southampton. Totals 2.75. Juice is split on the total. Juice pretty heavily all the way to Nottingham Forest. Probably see 1.5 before kickoff, and maybe even more than that. Southampton are awful. Big question is Nottingham Forest. They're not great with the ball. They don't score a ton of goals. They score efficiently, but they're going to have to create a lot. Southampton, I expect under Ivan Juric to try to protect their defense with possession. I really like that for totals and going under, so I lean it under 2.75. I should like the side more on Southampton, but I don't. Manchester United then hosts Brighton. Currently United a 0.25 goal favorite at home with all the juice. Totals 2.75. Juice all the way to over. A lot of respect for Manchester United for drawing teams that they should never be big underdogs against, but I guess that's the fact of where we are. And Ruben Amorim, I don't trust him. Don't think he's the right man for this Manchester United job, or maybe they've just done so poorly in signing players that there's not much you can do. I lean to Brighton getting a 0.25 goal. Draw Kings have been great at that. Also lean to under 2.75 because Manchester United and over just don't go together like oil and water. Everton then hosts Tottenham. Currently Everton 0.25 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Totals 2.75. Juice more to the over. Everton, we'll see what happens under David Moyes. You can't trust Everton to score goals, even against the Tottenham wide open defense, which is not Premier League level and should not be. And Ange needs to change, which he won't, so he should move on. I think at this point, though, Everton as a 0.25 goal underdog is still interesting to me. It's really hard to play a total with Tottenham, though the way they play makes it 2.75 versus Everton. It's literally like the direct opposites you have in teams. Everton can't score, Tottenham can't defend. So what happens here? I think I like Everton as home underdog more in that kind of combination because defenses don't travel and bad defenses get put out to pasture. Last on Sunday, we have Ipswich Town hosting Manchester City. Currently Ipswich a 1.5 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Totals 3.25. Juice pretty heavily to under. I lean both those ways, to both the Ipswich and that getting a goal and a half and under 3.25. It's hard to trust Manchester City because they can't defend, and I think it's in their heads now that they can't see out victories. There's absolutely no reason that Ortega should be playing goalkeeper over Ederson at this point, but Pep Guardiola, you can't tell him anything because he's won everything everywhere he's been. Lean to Ipswich as the home underdog and under 3.25, though I probably like Ipswich more than I like Manchester City. Moving to Monday, Chelsea hosts Wolves. Currently, Chelsea goal and a half favorites. Really juiced on the Wolves side, surprisingly. Totals 3.5, juiced all the way to under. Could see Wolves getting some respect here, but man, they try to bring in Agumu, I think, from Reims in France, in the Champagne country, just completely out of his realm. The Liga to English Premier League jumps are usually just the cheap buys, and they don't go very well. I don't know what to do. Chelsea have been really good to fade for a while, but I don't think Wolves are in the stratosphere of Chelsea Football Club at this point in terms of what they can do to that defense. So nothing for me on Monday, I don't think, which is disappointing, especially in a standalone game. But maybe by the time we get to Monday, we'll change that opinion. For my best bet in England, I'm going to go with, I think I like this Sunday card more than I like anything else. Southampton's of interest. I'll go with Ipswich getting a goal and a half from Manchester City. I know it's amazing. Never would have thought I would play this coming into the year, but here we are. C'est la vie. We move now to La Liga in Spain. We'll start on Saturday morning with Girona hosting Sevilla. Currently, Girona, half a goal favorite at home with all the juice. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to under. Sevilla are going to try to possess the ball. Girona want the ball. They want to push forward. This is going to be a battle for possession. To me, that usually means there's going to be stalemate because I think the most goals are scored from a very offensive team, usually a lot higher budgeted, facing a very defensive team, and the defensive team being worse and just running out of gas. I think Sevilla are going to try their best to protect themselves away from home, protect their net, and protect their energy levels by controlling the ball. They are nowhere near where we've seen Sevilla in the past, but Girona, also a Champions League team, have lost so much talent. They're getting healthier throughout the season because they sustained so many injuries to start the year because they just weren't used to playing 2 matches in a week. But at this point, Girona as a favorite, I'm looking to be against. I don't know if I'm interested enough to play it. Only half of a goal in Sevilla. You can't trust them to score, but I think under 2.5 is of interest for sure. Moving next to Leganés hosting Atletico Madrid. Currently, Leganés a 1-goal underdog at home. More juice than Atleti. Total is 2.25. Juice more to the over, and it feels like a really small total. And this is kind of basically making it seem like we're back to Atletico Madrid previous years, lifetimes ago, before they spent all this money this summer to sign all these great players. And honestly, it brings me back to early in the season when we were playing Atletico Madrid unders as much as we could. Leganés are a champion from La Segunda División, and they are going to try to possess the ball as much as they can, keep it away from Atleti. For that reason, I like the +1. I think I like it more than under 2.25. Just feels so low because Griezmann and Sorloth and basically anyone that comes off the Atletico Madrid bench is better than what Leganés have. And they're going to score a goal late, most likely. You just never know if they're already leading by 1, if they're drawing, or if they're losing. Then that Leganés +1 looks a lot better. Real Betis then hosts Alaves. Currently, Betis a 3/4 goal favorite. All the juice on Alaves away from home. Totals 2.25, juice all the way to over. Alaves have been interesting. Real Betis have gotten their strikers. They don't have a striker, let me say, but they've gotten their attackers back, I guess, best way to say it. Giovanni Lo Celso, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I think it's Lo Celso, but you never know from European broadcasters and being unable even to report or pronounce names in their own language. Alaves, they have been, what an incredible loss last week. Literally dominating a game, just can't score. And then a left back who'd moved to center back, clearing the ball off his own leg perfectly to the foot of an attacker for a goal. Just brutal for Girona, and honestly just makes me want to die, but it is what it is. Got to bounce back. Alaves are going to have to as well. It's going to be tough for them going on the road. I think if you like Alaves, you probably want to play under 2.25, which looks like it might get to 2.5 before game time, but until then I'll be waiting and seeing on the sideline. To the nightcap, Getafe hosts Barcelona. As I wear the Getafe kit, might as well, if you buy a shirt that says Tecno Casa in it because you like tech house music, you might as well hopefully they win us some money. With that said, 1-goal underdog, all the juice on Barcelona. We might see this climb to 1.25 after Barca thrash Real Madrid. It would make sense for them to struggle coming back to the mainland, different, barrio or suburb of Madrid. Totals 2.75. She's pretty heavily to under. I mean, these are all. It's another kind of like we saw with Everton and Tottenham in the previous section of the show. Spain don't have high totals except if Barcelona's involved. Getafe, probably the lowest total team out there. Seeing 2.75 gigantic. They on the road at Real Madrid, I want to say close 2.25 was the total. So this feels high. I'll lean to under 2.75. Getafe hosting Barcelona. Moving to Sunday, we have Celta de Vigo hosting Athletic Club Bilbao. Currently Celta a pick'em. All the juice on Athletic Club. Total is 2.25. Juice all the way to under here. Celta coming off a Real Madrid trip in Copa del Rey on Thursday and dealing with the injury to Iago Aspas, who's their talisman, most important player, penalty kick taker, leader, all those sort of things. It's going to be tough. Athletic Club are great. They're so talented and are really scary. I think until Celta move to an underdog or until I see that Iago Aspas is back in the starting lineup, not much for me to do on Sunday. Lean to under 2.25, but don't feel great about that. Moving next to Real Madrid hosting Las Palmas. Currently Real Madrid 2.25 goal favorites. Juice is split. Total is 3.75. Juice pretty heavily to under. Las Palmas, they are not the defensive possession team that they were under previous managers. They are just somehow they picked up a bunch of points with a La Liga retread who's coached Espanyol and Granada and also other places. I don't know. I don't see that continuing too long. Real Madrid have looked horrible, but I feel like we might see them on a revenge tour coming up soon. If they can stay healthy, their defense is horrible. So playing under seems very dangerous with them. I don't think I want to play Las Palmas even getting 2.25 goals. Moving next to Osasuna hosting Rayo Vallecano. Currently Osasuna a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice. Total is 2, just all the way to over. Rayo are a great defense. They are really good at protecting themselves, and scoring goals is hard for them. Going to El Sadar in Pamplona is a big, big trip, and it's hard to do. But Osasuna coming off a Basque derby with Athletic Club on the road in Bilbao. Certainly not a long trip, but definitely helps with potentially finding some extra legs. And this is a big question. We don't know what the lineups are going to look like versus what was played in Copa del Rey. I would expect some rotation, and I expect this Rayo number to climb. I'll lean to under 2 at this point, but I'm probably going to need some more, or at least to see some defenders like Moomin back in the lineup. Valencia then hosts Real Sociedad. The Sunday night festivities begin. And Valencia currently a pick'em with all the juice on Real Sociedad away. So, and then some. So probably Valencia moving to quarter goal underdog. Total is 1.75, juice all the way to over. Maybe we see this come back to 2. Real Sociedad, though, are a possession-based team that don't score very well. All of this points to under for me, but there's nothing here that I want in this game in the current numbers. So we'll wait and see for a Sunday nightcap or afternoon. Moving to Monday, Villarreal hosts Mallorca. Currently Villarreal, 3.25 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Mallorca. Total is 2.25, juice all the way to over. Villarreal are a goal scoring team. Mallorca are a defensive one. And that's where will again butt heads. And I love this because changing styles, whoever wins their style will win this matchup, or at least is the best chance to cover the spread. I think Villarreal's offense has been okay, but not as good as it should have been so far this year. Defense has been bad. For that reason, I'm interested in Mallorca getting 3/4 of a goal, probably more than under 2.25, but we might get 2.5 before kickoff. And I think I like both as a way to potentially try to get a 2-0 or maybe split if Mallorca score more than expected, because I think Villarreal are still a team I'd like to fade. For my best bet in England, I think I'm going to go with, I'd love to go Real Sociedad under 2 goals. We don't have it yet. Probably gets there, but I'm not certain that it will. I think in terms of the others, I mean, man, it's gross, but I'm wearing the shirt. So let's go Getafe under 2.75 goals at home against Barcelona. Moving now to Serie A in Italy. We have Bologna-Monza as the early match on Saturday morning here in the United States. Bologna 1-goal favorite. All the juice on Monza. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to under. Bologna have been, I think, climbing, and they've done a bunch of signings, and it took a while to get these players working together and playing well. They've done that. The difference here, though, is that they unfortunately gave up a ridiculous late penalty to then lose, or basically they were winning and ended up drawing late on a late penalty, last kick of the match against Roma last week. I think that's a good sign, though, that Bologna have been improving. Monza have been playing really poorly, but got a big result for themselves last week as they're trying to stay in the league, and they've been bottom of the Serie A table. Totals 2.5. This one juiced really heavily to under. I think at this point, that's probably my biggest interest. It's still a way to potentially fade a Bologna offense, but it has been getting better as these players are getting to know each other better. But I think Monza go in and defend, and that's their main modus operandi for the day. Moving next to Juventus hosting AC Milan. Clearly Juve, a quarter goal favorite, almost saw the juice on Milan away. Totals 2.25, juice more to the under. I went to this match in Milan 2 seasons ago, and Milan were loser at home. Slight favorite and just were completely outplayed, but an early red card certainly did something to him with Chiam sent off. Cham. Anyway, Juventus, they have been drawing too many games. They brought in this manager who's supposed to completely change their fortunes, but it's basically the same Juventus defense with a lot of questions offensively and big questions about striker. Maybe Randall Colomani will fix that, but I'd like to see it before I believe it. Milan come in. They've been doing great, winning every time they place Inter, who's the best team in Italy. It's surprising, but it happens. And Conceição has had a great run since he come in. For that reason, I'm interested in Milan potentially getting a draw here. Quarter goal underdog is not a lot on the road at Juve, but that Turin crowd has not seen wins this season. Also leaning under 2.25, but I think I like the Milan side a little bit more. Moving next in the nightcap on Saturday, big one, Atalanta hosting Napoli in a big Scudetto race. Currently, Atalanta quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Napoli totals 2.25, juice all the way to over. Napoli are a team that wants to play defensively. Atalanta are not, but Atalanta have been playing more pragmatically this season. And they are really good, but have not really been playing that great as of late. I think Napoli get their control here and get their style. I like under 2.25 in that Saturday nightcap. Moving to Sunday, Fiorentina hosting Torino. Currently, Fiorentina 3/4 goal favorite at home. More juice on Torino. Totals 2.25. Juice pretty heavily to under. Fiorentina, speaking of teams that have not been playing well lately. Torino, though, have been trying to climb their way up out of a relegation fight. I don't really trust Torino to score goals. I don't like that situation going on the road at Fiorentina. If anything, I think I like under 2.25, but it's not a strong lean at this point. Moving next to Parma hosting Venezia. Currently Parma, quarter goal favorite at home. Juice is split. Total is 2.75, and the juice is split. Really big total. Two teams that came up from the Serie B last season. Parma, they're a really great offense, but they want to be. They try to counterattack as much as possible, and I think they've been a bit more pragmatic lately, but they have not been scoring goals. For that reason, Venezia under 2.75 is my biggest interest there. I think I like that more than just getting a quarter of a goal on Venezia's side. I don't trust the score. Cagliari then hosts Lecce. Cagliari currently a half a goal favorite. Almost all the juice on Lecce away. Totals 2.5. Juice pretty heavily to under here. Cagliari have been a great defensive club, and at home they're a little bit more expansive. Lecce will be as hemmed in as possible, and will try to prevent goals, keep their clean sheet, keep the 0 as long as possible. For that reason, under 2.5 is very interesting to me. I think this is a very good chance of a goalless draw. This could go over, of course, as all matches are subject to VAR and refereeing decisions. But I think 2.5 also feels a little bit big here. I'm trying to understand that. Cagliari are more open at home and try to win matches there. But Lecce are going to go in and try to make this a goalless draw. Verona then hosts Lazio. Kind of Verona 3/4 goal underdog at home with more juice. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to under. Lazio have been playing great. Verona's defense, I think, has been improving and has been playing a lot better as of late. I don't know if those things will work together or not. I think I like the Verona under 2.5 more than I like the 3/4 goal underdog. Would love a +1, as that's always something to look for to a home underdog. But Lazio is still scary. I love backing Lazio, but not as a road favorite. To the nightcap on Sunday, Inter Milan hosting Empoli. Currently Inter 1 3/4 goal favorite with more juice. Totals 3, juice almost all the way to under. Empoli are not a goal scoring team. For that reason, under 3 looks interesting. The push on 3 is wild, but Empoli have also really struggled, including this reverse fixture. Empoli deserved better, but took an early red card, and things went to hell from there. And I got to say, Empoli under 3 is of interest because they're not really contributing to goals very often, except they've been scoring a ton this year. So I just think I've also tried to give up on fading Inter or fading their offense with unders. So I'll move on to Monday. We have Como hosting Udinese. Currently Como, a quarter goal favorite with all the juice. Totals 2.25, juice all the way to over. Como looked great, took a 1-0 lead on Milan during the midweek makeup matches, and then ran out of gas. Maybe that's because they're not used to 2 matches in a week, and they had to make up a match because of the money grab in Saudi Arabia. But ultimately, Udinese quarter goal underdogs of interest, and I like under 2.25 as well as a way to fade the Como offense in any sort of way that I possibly can. So best bet for this one, for the Italian Serie A on this episode from Friday, January 17th, I'll go with Napoli Atalanta under 2.25 goals, as I think the big giants, when they play each other, we don't see a lot of goal mouth action. Moving now to France, and we still have the German Bundesliga, and then we'll get out of here and get a little bit more, I guess, action to these episodes, trying to get them as quickly as possible, because I don't know that anyone wants to spend 40 minutes with me on a Friday night. But moving to France. Lens, they host PSG in the early one Saturday. Currently, Lens 3/4 goal underdogs at home with all the juice on PSG, or almost so. Totals 3.25, juice all the way to under. Lens, I'm waiting for them to hit a +1. Because I do think, a comment coming on in here, John Congola. Atalanta, sorry, I'll go back since I just talked about it. I would wait to the end. But John Congola, here we go. Atalanta versus Napoli, final result. I just combined the names, Atalanta, Napoli. I think we see goalless. It seems too hard to see, but that does happen with the big clubs, the big giants in Serie A and Italy. I think we see 1-1, boring, I know, but there we go. And at this point, with the total at 2.25, juice really heavily to over. I think you wait this probably hits 2.5, big names, big clubs. People like to bet overs. So I'll probably go under 2.25 now. I like the plus money. And I've been selling 2.25, playing under 2.25 as opposed to 2.5 to try to reduce the heavy juice tax you're essentially paying with every wager you make in this sport, for godforsaken sport. But we might get a decent price on 2.5 on Saturday evening. So I'll go 1-1 into Napoli and Atalanta in that nightcap on Saturday. Moving now to Liga, back to Liga, I guess. Thank you, John, for your question. Please come through, hit subscribe on Betting the Pitch if you want to listen on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, or at the Real_G Warner on YouTube. And of course on Instagram, if you want the 1 minute reel that'll come out. But Lens, they're waiting for them to get a +1 next to the name. We don't have it yet. I'll be waiting for that. I don't think I can ever play it under with PSG at this point, unfortunately. Rennes then Hayes. All the French pronunciations are killing me. Rennes then hosts Brest. Currently Rennes, a 0.5 goal favorite. All the juice on Brest away from home. Totals 2.25. Juice slightly more to under. I basically bet Brest every time they play. I do like Brest in real life. Wow, it's really getting late if I'm making that joke. But I got to say, Brest are forever undervalued, maybe not given the respect or the size that they deserve. But they're really the side I want here. Rennes have had a lot of problems. Jorge Sampaoli is not a good manager. His days are numbered, I think. So I'll lean to Brest getting a 0.5 goal, and I lean to under 2.25 as well. More so, I think, to the side than the total here. It's just a way to play against Rennes, because I think we see Brest score some goals. So maybe I like that a lot more than total. Actually, I'll take that off the list. Moving to the nightcap on Saturday of Lyon hosting Toulouse. Currently, Lyon, a 0.5 goal favorite at home with more juice. Totals 2.75. Juice more to the over. Toulouse are a goal scoring side. Thank you for all of you coming in, by the way. Throw any questions here like John just did, and I'll display them in the browser or wherever the heck we call that. I think Lyon are in transition. I mean, they have huge financial ramifications coming if they don't make Champions League. There's a lot of questions that they might get just demoted to Ligue 2 just based on financial crimes, essentially, in the French world. And they are not in France. Like they let Bordeaux go bankrupt and fall out of soccer. So watch out for Lyon, Jean Texter, and all that squad of, I think, American ownership. Toulouse don't care about that. They're a good team. I think they hang around here. 0.5 goal is of interest to me. I think I'd like to get more than that, though. And I think it does reflect how well Toulouse have been playing and how poorly Lyon have. But Lyon are really good, and they got a lot of talent. So that's pretty scary to play against with only 0.5 goal in your pocket on the road in a big stadium with Le Gant. Moving to Sunday, Saint Etienne, a pick 'em right now with all the juice to Nantes. Totals 2.25, juice more to the over all the way. Saint Etienne have been good at home, and I thought played PSG really tight. Good for them to get a goal late. But at this point, Nantes are the side I want. We don't have the 1/4 goal away from home, though I expect it to get there, at least based on where we are with this total. 2.25 seems interesting to me, but the pick 'em with all the juice right now in Saint Etienne, plus money, plus 110 at BetOnline currently for Nantes. Good chance we get a quarter of a goal at some point, though it might be a little bit expensive. And by the way, if all lines quoted courtesy of BetOnline, Sportsbetting.ag. If you want to make a first-time deposit, if you've never been at either of those sites, they'll give you some free money to sign up. Might even have a big NFL playoff bonus or something like that. Hit me up at @thereal_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube, anywhere you want, and I'll walk you through and get you a bonus there. Moving next to Angers, hosting Angers. Currently Angers, a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Angers away from home. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to under. These are both French Liga promoteds trying to stay in the league, and Angers have been playing really well. I think Angers are going to try their best to outscore Angers, because that's what they've done all season. That's what they did in Ligue last year. I think when they won the second division in France. I don't really know. I don't want to be against Angers at this point. I do feel like it's weird for them to be a favorite, but they've been paying that off. They've been winning as an underdog lately. I think over 2.5 might be my interest in this one, but I'm not really an over player. Shout out Joe Dollar. I know you want me to be. Next, we'll go to Reims hosting Le Havre. Currently Reims, a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Totals 2.5, juice all the way to under. Reims have been scoring goals, but with all the Coupe de France stuff all this week is also a big question. Le Havre looked horrible, unfortunately to say. They were a huge moneymaker for me, but that has changed. I don't really trust them going away from home. They can't score goals, but they have been lately, but they've also been conceding a lot. And that horrible performance at Marseille, I should get it out of my head, but I can't. Now, last matchup, of course, Marseille hosting Strasbourg. Marseille 1-goal favorite at home with a little bit more juice on Strasbourg. Total is 3, juice pretty heavily to under. This is another matchup where Marseille have been so bad at home, but that started to change with that blowout of Le Havre. Or was it just Le Havre who are struggling to stay in the league? It might not. Strasbourg are really talented, but they are young and make dumb mistakes. I think there's a lot of problems here with playing them, even as a full goal of insurance away from home. Total at 3 is of interest, but I think Marseille's incredible road results are a boon for them. And I think they are eventually going to turn around that really poor home record. For my best bet in France, I'm going to go that Stade Brestois, half a goal underdog on the road at Rennes. Might be a derby in West France as well. We'll see about that one. But I do think that's a close matchup, and Stade Brestois, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Moving last to German Bundesliga before we get to the ultimate best bet portion of the show, 24-8, 75% year to date. Stuttgart, 1-goal favorite right now at the Freiburg. Almost all the juice on Freiburg. Totals 3.25, just really heavily to under. Stuttgart have been really good at possessing the ball, had a huge comeback win against Leipzig this week, and against a really good Leipzig team that got all their offensive players back, and then 2 of them got red cards. LOL, except not so much when you backed Leipzig like I did. Freiburg have been really bad away from home. Don't really do very well with handling 2 matches in a week. Stuttgart have been doing all year in Champions League. None of this is lining up. The total's big, 3.25. That's my biggest interest, but it's not close to being played at this point. Moving next to Bochum hosting RB Leipzig. Currently Bochum half a goal underdog at home with all the juice. Total's 2.75, just really heavily to under. I've got a lot of interest in Bochum. They keep winning at home. It took them forever to get one, but they've started to get them beating Heidenheim, I believe, and then also a win over St. Pauli. They've beaten the worst teams that are fighting with them in relegation fights. But at the same time, RB Leipzig are going to be without 2 of their best strikers, basically their 2 strikers. So it's going to be Xavi Simons, who is important, essential, but hasn't been playing a lot. And they're going to try to use him 3 times in 10 days. We'll see. Or 3 times in 8 days, something like that. That's not a great setup. Bochum have been playing great at home. I think we see a really, really tough effort and a goalless draw. You win both. So I'm very interested there. Moving next to Holstein Kiel hosting Hoffenheim. Currently Holstein Kiel, a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Total is 3, just all the way to under. Kiel coming off an upset victory over Borussia Dortmund. Should it be at this point when Borussia Dortmund go away from home? Well, it was. Holstein Kiel, the huge win. They've had 2 big wins at home, Augsburg, and then far more impressive one with Borussia Dortmund. But Hoffenheim come in and they're awful. Shouldn't be a road favorite to anybody, I don't think. So give me Holstein Kiel, a quarter goal underdog. I probably lean to under 3 here as well. That's an important push. I just don't trust Hoffenheim's offense, but I feel like Kiel have been scoring a lot, and I don't know that I really want to lose or to win Holstein Kiel in a blowout and give away the other half of the money by or basically lose on the game by splitting. But at this point, the push on 3 is very appetizing, especially as a way to fade Hoffenheim's offense and potentially their offense with the side as well. Bayern München then hosts VfL Wolfsburg, and this is the hardest one for me. Bayern München 2.25 goal favorite at home with more juice. Totals 3.75, juice more to the over. And this is the perfect team for to go into Munich and potentially cause problems. VfL Wolfsburg, I want to check the status of their Moroccan Algerian striker who came in from Union Saint-Gilloise this year. I should have his name off the top of my head, but I can't. Amdouni? No, that was a different player. I'll get it in 1 second. Sorry. Mohamed Umura. He's been awesome. One of the fastest dudes I've ever seen. And he's the perfect counterattacking person for this team. Wolfsburg are going to sit back. Ralf Hasenhüttl, formerly of RB Leipzig, and I guess more famously Southampton in the Premier League in England. They will be Wolfsburg are well drilled. They're really fucking fit, to quote him. So I think that's allowed on this family show. But VfL Wolfsburg, they're going to sit deep and they're going to counterattack. And that's what they're going to try to do. Really, Baku's gone to Leipzig. That's a problem. It certainly reduces a lot of their speed. We saw Kaminsky come back from injury, only get hurt again in midweek. I'm very curious to see what the Wolfsburg lineup looks like. I almost need to see Amura in there. But the strategy here is Wolfsburg going to try to keep Bayern München from picking them apart. The big question is Bayern can do that to everybody, and that's the biggest concern. For now, I'm interested in 2.25 goals on a really good counterattacking team that's going to protect their net and play defense all the time. Also lean to under 3.75, though those are very scary plays at the moment, I must say. Moving next to the last of this big onslaught of Saturday morning games, 3:30 local time in Alemania or in Germany. Heidenheim are hosting St. Pauli. Currently, Heidenheim quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice on St. Pauli away from home. Totals 2.5, juice slightly more to over. St. Pauli unders at this point are almost a given because they just can't score goals. And that's hard to say, especially going away from home. Heidenheim are not really a defensive team, but they're not a great offense. Lost a lot of their talent and are really just hanging on. I think they look like a relegation candidate despite moving on in the Europa Conference League. St. Pauli's of interest to me getting a quarter of a goal, but I think I just need to quit them and just play their unders because I'm sick of giving away my profits by playing them to win their matches because they just can't score. Goalless doesn't look great for anything but the total, so lean to under 2.5 there. And to the top spiel, the nightcap on Saturday, Bayer Leverkusen hosts Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently Leverkusen 1.75 goal favorite with slightly more juice, totals 3.25, juice all the way to over. This could be a really high scoring game. Gladbach don't defend. They got blasted by Wolfsburg midweek, despite honestly controlling a game, fell behind early 2-minute penalty, and then were really good. But second half came on and they let up 1 goal and another goal and then 2 more and lost 5 and finally got 1 and lost 5-1. Leverkusen are playing a lot better, though they are very pragmatic late, not trying to give up goals because that cost them and put them way behind the 8 ball, falling behind Bayern München. Feels like we might have a Bundesliga title race on, which might be great. We'll see how that goes. Leverkusen, gigantic favorites and should be. I think I need to see more from Gladbach, considering how bad they've been on the road for years and years and years. Moving to Sunday, 2 matches left, and we'll get to ultimate best bet. Union Berlin, they are a pick'em right now to Mainz 05, totals 2.25, just more to the over. Union look like a disaster. Stefan Baumgart is not their style, trying to play 4-man back line with the slowest 3-man back line that you've ever seen. Not a great combo. Mainz are awesome away from home. I'm honestly interested in the pick'em here, even though that's kind of a rule of mine that I'm only playing underdogs away. Lean to under 2.25 as well, because Mainz probably are missing Johnny Balkot, their star striker, former, I think, German under 21 or under 23 captain. He's not going to be in Mainz for too long, I don't think, but if he keeps getting hurt, he might be. At this point, I'm fading Union in that offense because I don't trust them to score whatsoever. Last but not least, Werder Bremen has Augsburg. Currently, Werder Bremen, a half a goal favorite with more juice at home. Total is 2.5, juice pretty heavily to over. Augsburg, I don't trust to score. Had 2 goals early against Union Berlin on like 2 chances. I think at this point, Werder Bremen, I haven't had a ton of success playing their unders lately, but I think that's going to be where I want to go because Augsburg are literally just going to let them have the ball. And and Werder Bremen are used to counterattacking, or that's how they want to play. Augsburg's going to make them create, going to try to turn them over and try to score goals from it. I don't really trust that away, and Augsburg has been so bad away, similar to Borussia Mönchengladbach, except with a much lower budget. But Augsburg are never in the relegation discussion, so that's something to go and say, maybe celebrate. So for my best bet from the German Bundesliga, I mean, there's a lot that I like in this card. I'll probably go, the Bochum side and total are very interesting to me at this point. Also lean to that under Heidenheim and St. Pauli. Leipzig I do have some concerns about Leipzig just having a ton of depth, even though they've really been struggling to score without Xavi Simons. And I don't even know if he starts this matchup. So I'll go VfL Bochum, half a goal underdog at home for my best bet from the German Bundesliga. So hang on. I want to make sure I get through a couple plugs, and then we'll get to the ultimate best bet portion of the show, where I go through my favorite bet from each of the leagues that I went through in the first 40 minutes of this episode. And you get to grade me. We're 24-8, 75% year to date. If you haven't listened to the podcast that I've been doing a million of them. This is my third of the night, actually. Did two with Big East Ben for our pregame.com partners. We did a college basketball podcast going through the biggest games on Saturday, the 18th of January. We also did the national championship college football podcast. And we are also giving away, if I have the shirt nearby, we now have merch. So get ready, get used to it. The Need for Seeds college basketball podcast. Get in there, baby. We're now year 2 and we have some merch. So go, if you want to buy, hit up at Big East Ben on Twitter and tell him that I sent you, just so you know, so he knows where it's coming from and he can thank me in a very nice way. Other than that, I got the NFL podcast out there with _Schnicker. We did that on Tuesday night per usual. And we came up with who our picks were for this entire NFL weekend. Went through every game, of course, and gave you picks on each of them. So if you want to go listen to that, it's on the Betting the Pitch Podcast Network, Betting the Pitch on Spotify or on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. You'll get there. Also on YouTube at @the_Real_G Warner. We'll get you a full length episode, plus the 1 minute version of the episode, which I'll do in just 1 second. You can also find on Instagram at @the_Real_G Warner. I think that's it. So let's get into it. It's time for the ultimate best bet, and let's go make some money. Hey, this is @the_Real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet, where I combine my favorite pick from each of the European soccer leagues I cover on the episode. We're 24-8, 75% so far this season. And here's the way you grade me. I'm going to pick one from each of the leagues. You go follow me wherever you can at @the_Real_G Warner, and you'll make sure you don't miss this moving forward. For the English Premier League, I like Ipswich Town, a 1.5 goal underdog. From Spain's La Liga, I like Getafe as I wear their kit under 2 3/4 goals. In Serie A in Italy, I like Napoli under 2 1/4 goals. In Liga in France, I like Stade Brestois, half a goal underdog. And the German Bundesliga, I like VfL Bochum, a half of a goal underdog. But for the ultimate best bet on this episode, I'm going to go and stay in where my money's been made this year, and that's in England. I'm going to go with Ipswich Town, a 1.5 goal underdog to Manchester City. I think we see a very, very tight matchup, and honestly, I don't know how anyone can trust Manchester City to hold on to a lead for the rest of time. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, of course, to John Kongola for your question mid-episode. Would love more of that coming in, and don't be shy. Feel free to do it again in the future. See you all bright and early tomorrow morning, and have a great evening. Let's win some bets.
Recording stopped.